There are many different ways to play Pokemon. Some people just like playing through the game casually, and others prefer the competitive side of things. Many moves are great no matter how you're playing, but that's not always the case. What's up, fellas? I'm Matt, and today we're going to take a look at moves that see use in competitive play, but aren't as useful during a playthrough. Alright, let's get started. Entry hazards are a staple of competitive singles. You've got Spikes and Stealth Rock to deal damage, Toxic Spikes to spread poison, and Sticky Web to lower speed. Hazards have seen a ton of usage over the years because they're a passive way to weaken your opponent's team. That's especially the case because of how often switching occurs. If a Pokemon takes damage from spikes or rocks, then switches out, they'll take damage again when they come back. Even with heavy-duty boots being introduced, entry hazards are still used quite a bit, but they aren't as useful during playthroughs, because of how AI battles usually play out. Very few in-game trainers will ever switch Pokemon unless their current one faints. That makes Spikes and Stealth Rock much less potent, because these moves rely on switching to deal damage. Toxic Spikes can be alright in some situations, because spreading status conditions passively can be quite nice. But if you're strong enough to one-shot your opponent, which is often the case in playthroughs, the poison damage isn't necessary. Sticky Web is also a great hazard competitively. It lowers your opponent's speed by 1 stage, which will give you the speed advantage on most turns. It's such a good move, in fact, that it gives random bugs like Rabombi a niche in competitive play. As of writing the script, Araquanid is a proper member of Gen 9 OU as well, thanks to its access to Sticky Web and other useful properties. But in casual playthroughs, Sticky Web isn't nearly as helpful. You'll usually outspeed in-game trainers naturally, because most of them don't have optimized stat spreads. Many trainers don't have speed EVs or IVs at all, which gives you the upper hand, whether you lower their speed with webs or not. Speaking of hazards and speed control, Rapid Spin is also a staple of competitive play. The hazard game is extremely important in singles, and removing said hazards is a big part of that. There are several ways to do that, but Rapid Spin is the oldest method. Over the years, Defog has given Rapid Spin a run for its money, but each move has its pros and cons. Both moves get rid of all hazards on your side of the field. Rapid Spin is a 50 base power attack, which means it can't be blocked by Taunt. It also deactivates partial trapping moves and Leech Seed on your side, and raises your speed by 1 stage. Meanwhile, Defog removes Screens, Terrain, Safeguard, and Mist alongside lowering the opponent's evasion. But each move has a notable disadvantage. Since Rapid Spin is a normal type move, Ghost types are immune to it. If an attack is blocked by an immunity, its other effects won't trigger either. So Ghost types are used as spin blockers to prevent your opponent from using Rapid Spin successfully. Defog applies its effects to both sides of the field, so you're also wiping up whatever you set up earlier. The vast majority of in-game trainers don't have any entry hazards, so these moves usually won't remove anything. Like we said with Sticky Web, raising speed also isn't that important in a playthrough. Rapid Spin also gets rid of other effects, but many trainers don't have those tools either, so it isn't all that useful in most battles. Rapid Spin was even worse back in the day. In Gens 2 through 7, it didn't raise speed, and it was only 20 base power instead of 50. Wonderful! Since the things Rapid Spin removes don't exist in most battles, you're better off using regular attacks 194% of the time. Please do not ask me to check my math. In most playthroughs, Rapid Spin is the Pokemon equivalent of a paper cut. Thanks to the low base power, Scratch is going to be a better move in most situations, and that's not exactly a high bar. Defog isn't a great move in most playthroughs either, but it's really useful in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Some areas of Sinnoh are foggy, and said areas are borderline unplayable without Defog. While the fog is up, the accuracy of moves is multiplied by 3/5. Outside of that though, you're best off picking a better move to beat the game with. Knockoff is one of the best moves competitively. It's a 65 power dark type move, and it removes the target's held item. If it successfully knocks something off, its damage is boosted by 50%. Many Pokemon rely heavily on their items to succeed, because a lot of them have incredible effects. You've got items that boost your damage output, items that heal you, items that protect you from passive damage, and so on forever and ever and ever. Using Knockoff can greatly hamper your opponent's game plan. If you knock off something like Leftovers, their survivability takes a pretty significant hit. If your opponent was holding a choice item, they won't be able to hit you as hard. If they were holding heavy-duty boots, your entry hazards become a lot more dangerous. Many Pokemon's movesets are built with certain health items in mind, at least in competitive contexts. In casual play, that's not usually the case. During a playthrough, most trainer Pokemon don't have items at all, meaning Knockoff will almost always be the standard 65 power. In this context, you're better off using dark moves to deal damage more reliably. Crunch is a good standard choice, and Night Slash will also usually deal more damage than Knockoff. But Knockoff used to be even worse. In Gens 3 through 5, the move was just 20 base power, which is on par with attacks like Bubble and Absorb. You know, the kinds of moves you delete by level 18. Back then, Knockoff didn't get a damage boost if it removed an item. So the move had even fewer use cases in playthroughs back then. You're probably not going to knock off an item, and even if you do, the move's damage is absolutely pathetic. In competitive play, Knockoff has always been a useful move, even before it got buffed in Gen 6. 20 power is obviously not great, but slapping an item out of your opponent's opponent's hands is fantastic. Either way, you're best off skipping it during a playthrough. Some moves are useful in double battles, but they're more situational or completely worthless in singles. In turn, that severely limits their viability in playthroughs because of how most games are designed. Even though double battles are the official competitive format, the main stories focus almost entirely on single battles. Pokemon Emerald features a bunch of double battles, where you fight 2 trainers at the same time. But in many cases, you can just talk to one person at a time, and do 2 single battles instead. A few notable trainers challenge you to mandatory double battles, like Tate and Liza and Hoenn, Rhyme and Paldea, and Raihan and Galar. But the vast majority of the time, you'll be taking part in single battles. So any move that's built with double battles in mind is going to be pretty bad during a playthrough. Protect is a great move in doubles, but its use cases in singles are pretty limited, and they're even more limited during a playthrough. In doubles, you can use Protect to punish your opponent for guessing wrong. If you go for Protect, and your opponent tries to hit that Pokemon, the attacker effectively loses their turn. You know, unless it's Urshifu, but don't worry about it. That kind of thing doesn't happen in singles, because there's only one opponent on the field at a time. Using Protect in singles usually just wastes a little time, and sometimes it gives your opponent a free chance to set up. Some Pokemon do use Protect in singles, but it's not as good in casual playthroughs. You can use Protect alongside an ability like Speed Boost, but like we mentioned earlier, you're usually going to be faster anyway, whether you've raised your speed or not. You can also get more health back from healing items by using Protect every other turn. But healing items aren't usually necessary during playthroughs, because you'll often be strong enough to just bulldoze everything in your path. I just want you all to know that I am currently wearing 2/3 of a pair of glasses while I'm reading this script. One of the arms just fell off the other day, and I'm still waiting to get a new pair. Trick Room is another staple of VGC. It reverses the turn order for 5 turns, which allows slow Pokemon to move before fast ones. Many teams are built around this move because moving first is such a big deal. Trick Room is a great tool in doubles, but it's less common in singles. During a playthrough, Trick Room will also be an outright detriment in most battles. Since your team will usually have the speed advantage, Trick Room would turn it into a disadvantage. Since the main story of each game focuses so heavily on single battles, any move that only works if you have multiple Pokemon on the field is going to be borderline useless. Helping Hand is the highest priority move in the game, and is a great support move in doubles. This move targets your ally and makes their attack for the turn 50% stronger. It's a staple for Pokemon like Farigiraf and Indeedee. But if you don't have an ally on the field, Helping Hand simply fails. That means it'll never do anything in single battles, which makes it almost unusable in playthroughs. In-game double battles are rare, although there are a couple of exceptions. Nearly every fight in Pokemon Coliseum and XD is a double battle, but they're very limited in other games. Redirection is a common mechanic in double battles, but it's completely useless in singles. If a Pokemon uses Rage Powder or Follow Me in VGC, they become the center of attention, which makes all opposing moves hit them for the turn. You can use these moves to protect your teammate from dangerous attacks, which allows them to do their thing more safely. So these are great support moves for Pokemon like Ogerpon and Amoonguss. But once again, these moves always fail in single battles, so they're useless in most playthrough fights. Ally Switch is another way to prevent your opponents from hitting their intended target. This move makes the user and his teammate physically switch places for the turn. In VGC, moves target positions on the battlefield, not the Pokemon themselves. So that's another way to affect which Pokemon gets hit with which move. By using Ally Switch, Farigiraf can eat hits that were intended for Urshifu. Shedinja can also learn this move, which can cause a whole lot of chaos. The attacks that can even hit this guy are very limited, so aiming your move at the right Pokemon is crucial. Shedinja can mess with your plans by using Ally Switch, which improves its survivability. Even if your opponent doesn't use Ally Switch on Shedinja, you still have to keep the possibility in mind. Shedinja creates mind games by simply existing in the battle. Of course, a move like Rock Slide will delete it, assuming it doesn't miss. But not every team has a spread move that can hit Shedinja. In singles, you have no allies on the field to switch with, so this is another move that always fails during most playthrough battles. So, I know what you guys are thinking. Yeah, Elias isn't in this video, he'll be back next time most likely. No, I didn't eat him. Don't get me wrong, doubles-only moves aren't completely useless in playthroughs, since the games do feature some double battles during the main campaign. But the vast majority of trainers challenge you to single battles instead, so that's what your team is going to be most prepared for. You get a limited number of move slots to work with, so saving a move just in case you need it for a double battle isn't usually worth it. You don't even need a double-specific strategy to win these battles. In most cases, you can just do whatever you were doing in single battles and you'll still probably win. That's especially the case in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. Tate and Liza only have 2 Pokemon, Solrock and Lunatone. You can drown the races with a couple of Surfs, and then they have no Pokemon left in the back. Claydol and Xatu are only on their team in Emerald. During Rhyme's battle, you also get stat boosts from the crowd to help you out. There's usually no need to prepare too heavily for double battles during playthroughs, so moves that only work in doubles are going to fall to the wayside almost completely. Other stuff like Protect can work, but its potential applications are pretty limited for most playthrough teams. At the end of the day, it's night. At the end of the day, in-game trainers don't play Pokemon the same way humans do. Youngster Joey isn't optimizing his EV spread to outspeed your Cyndaquil, and frankly, I don't think youngster Calvin knows what EVs even are. Hazards are less potent during playthroughs as well, since most trainers don't switch their Pokemon. Since most in-game battles are played in a singles format, doubles focus moves aren't all that useful most of the time. That's not to say nobody should ever use these moves during a playthrough, of course. Pretty much any list of moves can get you to the end of the game, so I'm in no position to tell you how to play. For all I know, someone could be out there playing Pokemon Emerald but only using Rapid Spin and Knockoff. If that's how you decide to play, that's your prerogative. There's no definitive, objective way to play video games, especially single-player ones, where your choices don't impact anybody else. Okay, bye.